So I'm wondering what kind of questions creep up for you when you think about going fee-based. What emotions are coming up? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you feel some anxiety. It's something you really want to do, but you don't know where to start. You don't know whether this is something that you would do. Or maybe you're telling yourself all these sort of weird and wonderful stories that your clients will never pay any fees. Well, today's episode might just prove you wrong. I'm really excited for today's guest, but I'll introduce him to you soon. And we're going to get into all of that, answer some questions, and maybe give you a roadmap of what is possible if you really set your mind to it. Here we go.
This is Propulsion, the podcast for forward-thinking and driven and ambitious financial planning professionals. It is the catalyst to the exponential growth of your financial planning practice, your business, or your franchise. This is where professionals come in order to learn about the latest technology, to learn about best practice when it comes to running and managing their business, as well as marketing, sales, relationship building, the best and most valuable interviews with local and international guests, and a whole host of other things. Without any further ado, here is your host, Francois du Toit.
There we go. Morning, Terence.
Good morning, Francois.
Awesome. Welcome. Let me just start off by saying this, right? So Terence is the original first viewer of this show. So if it wasn't for Terence, we wouldn't be here. I think if nobody pitched on the 20th of March, I would probably say, I wonder if this is a good idea. But anyway, Terence, warm welcome to Propulsion Live.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be on your show. Thank you, Francois.
Yeah, man, really looking forward to this conversation. There's quite a few things that I want to get into, but most prominently, I know I always ask my guests, like tell us a little bit about yourself, and but I really with you want to get into where this all started for you. So maybe for people, like if there's anyone here who hasn't seen you like on social or somewhere else, then just very quickly, who are you, your business, and then I really want to get into where did this all start for you?
So we'll keep it short because it's a very long story, but I entered financial services about 20 years ago and got into financial planning just over 14 years ago. And it's for the passion and the love of seeing people reach and achieve their goals, making sure that they can make wise and informed financial decisions. Because growing up, I saw that was a stumbling block often in my family and conversations in my household. And there was a taboo subject was to talk about money, and I didn't understand why. And there was a lot of misunderstandings. And that's why I wanted to get into financial services and to work with people and help them achieve what's important to them. I, as expected, joined financial services through a tied agency to get going. And it was a great learning place. But from there, I kept clashing with the principle of the agency. Because the typical, do a budget, see how much people earn, see how much people spend, so you can see their disposable income. And then the bright box says, match a policy. And that, my heart jumped out my chest because that makes absolutely no sense. And his response to that was, but look at the commission you can earn. And that still just didn't feel right. Francois, I know we need to earn and we all run a business, but we've got to do what's fair and what's just by a client, because that's how I would want to be treated if someone was sitting with me or my family. So I started learning, I think, how not to do things, which was very enlightening. And then I moved across, because we were clashing, I moved across to one of the banks, and I was at the bank for 7 years as a bank broker, and I didn't want to be a bank broker. So even inside the bank, I started differentiating myself. Like having client events, having newsletters. There was often a clash and having to get corporate identity to sign off on things. But I wanted to always set myself apart and not just be part of, run-of-the-mill type advisor. I really wanted people to have an amazing experience. And then RDR loomed its head and the first draft came out, and I read how our commission is going to change. And I thought, that is brilliant. That's what we need. Is to be paid for our knowledge, our expertise, not when we implement something. And obviously I was probably the only voice in the bank that was saying this is marvelous, and everyone else thought they were going to lose their jobs. And Francois, there was a conference I attended where there was two amazing speakers from the States that just, that was it. Those were the light bulb moments where you can run a fee-based practice like a doctor, get paid for your advice, not the implementation. And that's where Rich Ideas was born.
Yes, I love that. I remember this whole thing with RDR that came, right? I was in practice back then, sort of. I say sort of because I didn't really work that hard, but you have to enjoy what you do, right? So I didn't. So yeah, bank broker. But yeah, sorry for that. But I attended the session that Masthead, because remember Masthead back then, they really got into these. I don't know what they called it back then, but it was these RDR sessions and practice management sessions where they wanted to help you to, change your value proposition and move into fees, things we still try and do today, like what's that, 9 years later.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting there before we started. And around the room, you look around the room, and I say this always with respect, like it's everybody that was sort of, I think, late in their journey, in their practice. So they've been around for a long time. All they know is sort of the traditional way of doing it. And the conversation around the table was that, now the people who really need financial planning can't afford it. Right. So that's the conversation. And I'm sitting there as a young guy thinking, I was still young back then, 9 years ago. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, just do you hear yourself? And unfortunately at that point, I never spoke up. Like now I will definitely guys, come on, but what they missed was that there must be another way of serving these clients who can't afford it. Plus, you're not working with them now, so please don't, sort of like we like to poke holes in the things that we need to, or when we want to, because we're afraid we don't know what to expect or how to actually do this. And that for me was an enlightening moment. And I think still to today, some people have got it right, some people haven't. But we're moving in that direction where we find like there's different ways of doing things. And in that, I want to actually get to my next question, Terence, is, I look at what you've built, and I don't think I really know and understand, right? So, I mean, we don't spend that much time. But for me, it is like, if I look at what you're doing, what you're saying, and I love it, you just said policy, that doesn't sit well with you. Even your LinkedIn headline starts with, financial advice, not policy sales, or something to that effect. So you're very vocal about that, and you're very what's the word now, like intentional with that. I mean, you stick to that. But where did this vision really start? Because it's one thing to have a vision, but how long did it take you? I mean, did you just go on that day and say, no, I don't like that, I want to do it this way? Or how did that vision of yours, of what you're building at Rich Ideas today, how did that come about, and how has that shaped over the last few years in particular?
And that's the interesting one, because that overnight success takes 20 years to build, from what I've been told. It was at that moment, at that conference, where I thought, yes, here's models that work, that can work, and I need to now learn. And that's where I spent probably the next 3 to 4 years understanding value proposition, because we throw that around a lot, but what is a value proposition? How do we do it? How do we articulate? What makes us different? Because I feel every financial advisor in South Africa is my colleague. We're not in competition with each other. And as you said, there is so much opportunity out there that, there's so many problems out there we still need to solve for clients. But I realized that we can spend so much time having these conversations, which are exceptionally valuable, but it's then at our expense. And we, for the benefit of the client, need to stay in business. And making a profit shouldn't be a dirty word. It's people should want to pay us a fair amount of money so that we stay in business to continue looking after them. And that's when I had to take that and now articulate it. So who do I want to work with? When I get out of bed, I need to look at my diary and go, yes, I'm seeing Bob, Sue, and Francois. This is amazing. I can't wait for the day. As opposed to being like, oh, good grief. Okay, I've got to talk to these people today and sell them something. And you've got to look forward to the work that you want to do. It's got to excite you. So who excites you? And then what problems do you like solving for those people? And that's where I settled on families, because I'm in that bracket. I am going through that with them. I can experience the journey together. And now the merit is I have so many conversations with people in this space that when I sit with families we chat, they often feel like, oh, but it's only me. Only I have this thing. And I can go, no, but I've spoken to someone actually yesterday or last Monday or similar situation. And there's a lot of relatability. So it was how to design that. And that process probably took me a year of consistent work, throw it out the window, do it again, throw it out the window, do it again. Then only I figured out my fee model. And we're still tweaking that today, Francois.
And I like that, Terence, because I think too many people just, I can't afford to make a mistake. I can't afford to take a dip in income. I can't afford to have a client leave me, for example. Yet you went and you just stuck to it. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, you just recently started. Like, no, I think very few people know about your history, that you were you were a tied agent. You were at the bank for 7 years. I mean, that's a long time. So you came into this IFA space as, experienced, I think from that point of view, but also very inexperienced because like I'm going to figure this out. I know I want to do it differently. I've got some sort of an idea, but I'm not sure. It's not like the people here saying, oh, it looks like you're in the Cape. That's a bit broad, guys. Like, go with, like, you are in this place in Cape Town. Yes, I'm in the Cape. Okay, but where in the Cape am I? Like, come on, don't be so broad. But that's exactly what you did. That's where you started. And you sort of lead me nicely into this whole niching thing, but also not just that. And I wanted to ask you, like, is it because you in that space of your life as well? I mean, I can see you're very fond of your daughter and you go away with the family a lot. So you're definitely very heavily involved. You know what they're going through, probably what the challenges are. And hence, and I always say your ideal client is somebody like you. Like, you've heard that before, right? So just look where you are and then go look for those, because you've got lots to talk about. But now, like, let's talk about the fee model for those people, because I mean, that's a broad audience still, if you think about it, families, specifically parents with kids. There's lots of them. If I go to Doppio Zero, like, there's 6 million prams there. Like, not one trolley, not one grocery trolley, there's only prams. So it is still a broad market, right? But you're very clear, like, on that. So how have you gone about, share what you can share, what you're willing to share around how do you charge the fees? What do you find with your clients? Are they happy to pay those fees? What are some of the challenges? But let's just start off with, like, how do you charge and do you charge for everything? I think is another question.
So when figuring out how to implement this, it was part of my 5-year business plan, was phasing in my fee-based practice when I applied for my FSP license. And we started that journey, Francois, with first reducing upfront commission on risk policies and taking more as a trail. And over time, I rebalanced that scale. So less upfront, more trail, less upfront, more trail, till eventually I take now no upfront commission on anything or any products. And I know you asked about fee, but that's how I transitioned from commission into fee. Then we had our good old March 2020 lockdown and we all get sent home. And I thought at that point in time, either this business is going to succeed or it's going to fail. And I believe in my business plan. I believe in what I want to do. I freaked out my business partner and we switched everything on in that business plan. And we implemented a 5-year business plan in 8 weeks. And I went live. And at that point in time, I decided that I was going to have 3 models for financial planning. So if you had a single need, 2 needs, and then holistic full financial planning. And I came up with how much time I'm going to need to do this, how many consults we're going to need, and then priced that and put that out in the market. That was March 2020. From June 2020 till today, I have a 6 to 8 week waiting time for clients to have a first appointment with me. And I'm pretty sure, because I put it on my website, none of this is hidden. So before you sit with me, I'm a fee-based planner. I'm going to invoice you upfront before we start working, and you know what the fee is, because we also discussed it in that first session. And I'm pretty sure I will lose a lot of people along that process, but they're not the right people for me then. So it's not the scarcity. It's like, you just weren't right, and that's cool. The same way I'm not right for every product and service out there either. And then, Francois, to finish this thought off, is that started getting complicated because I want to do full financial planning. I don't just want to do single need. So I scrapped the single and 2 need options or plans about 4 or 5 months in. We now do single need financial planning. And and everyone in Rich Ideas, all my other advisors, we all follow the same model, but at different fees because there's different value propositions, levels of experience, qualification, etc. And yeah, once the client says, yes, I'm on board, we send an invoice, and a couple of days later, you get the EFT and we start working.
Yeah, I really like that. And yeah, it's, you think about like people not, because I think we're so afraid of losing, right? Because we don't like being rejected. Let's just be honest about that. It's not nice being rejected. The nice thing about, like, because if there's one thing about South African businesses that gets me, that like frustrates the living hell out of me, you do not find their pricing on their website. Like that is just like, you can't find that. I mean, sometimes it feels to me you battle to get a price on Takealot, but it's just like really, really annoying. And I think it's because, like, if I need to phone you to find out what your pricing is, I promise you I'm not going to phone you. Like, that's me, right? So I don't know if that strategy still works to get people to phone you because, oh, I have information that you want and now I can speak to you and that kind of stuff. I think we need to get over that. But also, like, often I believe that you will lose this client now. Not lose, you didn't have the client, so there's no way you can lose that client, right? And I loved Mel's comment. I just want to bring it on. Let me just find it here quickly. So I did bring it on earlier. She says, one of my clients left me when I introduced fees. She was horrified and moved to a discovery broker. They don't charge fees at all. Lol, sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. And that's absolutely what it is. If you really believe in what you do, then stick to that. And often that client isn't the right client now, or not even that. They're not ready to work in the way you want to. But trust me, down the line, they keep on seeing you. They keep on hearing from their friends about you, because remember, these people tend to move in the same circle. So very, very important. I think that just they will come there. It's like you've got early adopters, and then you've got the adopters, and then you have late adopters. So just stick around long enough. What I do just want to quickly, before I get into the next section, is you spoke about, like, you first started building up basically assets under management and trail fees and as and when commissions and things like that. So I think that was a very, very clever way of transitioning into this, because what you did was you removed the need of having to have a client today every single day. So it's sort of a journey then, is what I'm hearing you say, is going from, yes, I was, I earned commission on products that I introduced, et cetera, but I had a sort of a code of conduct, and I knew when I wanted to introduce something and when not. Then I started doing more as and when, sort of balancing that scale, getting to a point where I do have recurring income coming in, and then made the switch. And also, just a question on that: did you focus on new clients from that point onwards to be fee-based, or did you even go back to your existing clients and say, guys, this is how we're working going forward?
It's a wonderful question. So the fee-based was for new people through the door. The existing clients all got messages and newsletters from me. Where we are now a fee-based practice, in time fees will become part of our conversation. But for them, I would phase it in. What I also look at, Francois, is, we have to work out what we need to earn per head or per client. We have fixed operating expenses as a business. And what do we need to bring in to cover that, cover expenses, make a little bit of profit, and then see which clients are above the line and which clients are below the line, and then have those conversations. And I've started that journey this year, and having those conversations with some clients are very low touch. They know they're very low need. We've done a bond cover for them. And you try and discuss the rest of their financial planning, and they're not interested. They don't have, desire to do so. And I'll keep you on the books, but we'll then service you and assist you at your annual reviews. But if you want to go above and beyond, I'm going to introduce a fee. And I never, ever want to lose a person, but if we're not a good fit anymore, then, maybe let's find somebody else. But a fascinating one, Francois, is every single client, maybe not in Mel's case, but every single client knows they're going to pay something. Unfortunately, us as an industry has always hidden that. And if you come out from chapter 1 on your website or first meeting going, these are the fees I charge you because this is what you're going to get for it. Now, we can use what you have in your portfolio, or if you want to go to a direct investment provider yourself and do it, that's perfect. Much the way the doctor gives you a script and you can go to Clicks, Discam, wherever you wish, the doctor doesn't really care. With me, if you want us now to implement, well, then the implementation fee is separate, and that's the fee or the commission in a product. And maybe not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I've got a number of clients where there's still no commission on their products. There's no assets under management fee. Every time they want to allocate funds, every time they want a tax certificate, they want a review, they pay for that. And they are delighted to do so. And it's an amazing conversation to have with people who value and appreciate you, what you bring to the table, and will pay you fairly for it. And it's having those open and honest, those courageous conversations with your clients and with yourself so that you know how to position yourself. But I never see a doctor. I mean, I recently had surgery, and the pre-surgery quote for the surgeon alone for 40 minutes was 17,000 Rand. That man doesn't bat an eyelid issuing that invoice. Why should we bat an eyelid issuing an invoice for our knowledge, our expertise, what we bring to the table?
And they only, just by the way, just focus on, oh, what's the symptoms? And that's the thing. Oh, you have a pain there. Let's fix that for you. They don't get to know you. They don't, even know your kids or anything. So, it's amazing that.
Up with me after the surgery either. Like, how you doing? How you feeling? There's no relationship. It's transactional.
And did you have to complete the notorious yellow file in his office, or was it electronic?
Yeah. No, yellow file with a pencil.
You do all the work, but you need to pay. Like, that's fantastic. Anyway, what was the question I wanted to ask you now around the single needs, Terence? So I believe that there is going to be sort of going forward. So there's almost like you have your client base, and they're going to tend to be a little bit older. And if I say maybe 30s, mid-30s later on, so that's not old. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, they are. Because it's funny, right? I always believe everybody's so, oh no, this is the world and everything. Until they have kids, then we're all the same. There's no difference. Once you have a child, you have the same worries as the person who's 40 with a kid. It doesn't really matter that you're only 25. But anyway, so what I do believe is that what is going to happen, specifically early on when somebody starts looking at their finances, is now think about those guys that the people were talking around the masthead table. And it wasn't masthead, it was the people attending that thing. Let me just be clear. So what they did was they were saying oh, these people can't afford it. But I think what's going to happen is, as those people come in and they have access to all of these different sort of information online, et cetera, what we can expect them to do is to say, listen, whoa, this is information, but Terence, and I'm sure you do a lot of this because you are so active on a place like Twitter, for example, and people do engage with you fantastically. So that people come to you for once-off advice or to rubber stamp what they want to do, and then they go off and go and do it. So do you see more of that happening? Are you fulfilling that service? You're talking about once-off needs. Now, if you assist somebody with once-off needs, it doesn't mean that you're implementing a product necessarily. It might just be explaining advice to help them go and implement that product or make a decision around, do I want to buy the car? Do I want to finance whatever? But do you find that you're doing more of those?
A lot. That's a lot. A lot of inquiries come through, and so many people, and it's fantastic to see, have a really good handle on their finances. They know kind of what they're doing. They've got stuff set up, but they just want that second opinion. Terence, what am I missing? Or what could I do better? Or what could I do differently? And for that, they're happy to pay you a consult fee or an audit fee to go through their scenario, through their situation, through their benefits, re-explain benefits, tell them, but if you consider this, then this could be the consequence of your decision. So bear that in mind one day when you sell those shares, or, understanding the estate implications of decisions that they've made, or how to structure things in a more beneficial way. Or sometimes it's as simple as, yes, you can use a tax-free savings account for your kids' education, but then understand the impact of your lifetime limit. And for many of them, they kind of knew that, but they needed that certainty. And exactly that now, a knowledgeable, qualified financial advisor is kind of rubber stamping their plan. And we get that a lot. That's probably a quarter to a third of the inquiries I have, is where wonderful families manage and run their own portfolios. We just come in as that blind spot check, the bounce the idea, the how are we doing, and also the accountability partner. I've got a number of clients who are on a monthly retainer. We have regular sessions, as you said, monthly retainer every month, just to make sure we are on track. And if something now comes to light, what is the impact on my plan? And there's nothing being sold there. it's a conversation, it's a discussion, it's a strategy session, and it holds immense value for both parties. And it's amazingly fulfilling. So having that, and like you said, Francois, is not hiding things on your website. So for me, it's a good and a bad. It's a filtering process, because yes, sadly, I will lose some, but maybe they weren't for me. And those that do come through the door, well, they already know what's going to happen, how much it's going to cost, what's the process. And in early days, when I pitched my first ever fee, the chap said to me, but my guy at Liberty doesn't charge. I'm like, you're right, but why aren't you talking to him about this problem? No, because he says he doesn't do this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, there we go, my friend. And that fee, Francois, was $350, and he wouldn't pay it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see that's also where it starts, right? So when they get the value, and I don't know, like I found that when people do pay, they've got sort of skin in the game, and it's a completely different experience for them, than what they had before. Because suddenly they act, suddenly they do something with what you do because they actually paid money. It's amazing, like when they think they don't pay and it goes somewhere else and somebody else is paying, and they are paying in the end, even though they can't see it. There's a very good question here from Gary Walker that I just quickly want to raise with you. And I can see we're already running out of time. So he says, good morning. How and who manages invoicing, fees, payment, and what does that add to the cost of servicing the client? Is this built into your CRM? And if so, what system are you using? I just want to sort of comment on what cost does it, what's the cost it adds to servicing the client? Well, for me, it's like there shouldn't be, that should be offset by the fact that nothing can lapse, and by the fact that you get your money immediately and not wait for it and then hope for 24 months that things stick around. But that's just me. So, Terence?
So that the invoicing and the fee for the client is handled by the advisor in Rich Ideas. So we do that. Client either does an EFT, or we have now implemented PayFast so they can, do it online themselves. The cost, Gary, is an interesting one, because you're going to have your first session, an intro session, and we all say that is complimentary, and that's at our expense. We don't say it's free, it's at our expense. And if the client then onboards, well, it takes you 10 minutes to capture them on CRM and send an invoice. So, there's very little cost to manage that process. It's handled through Xero accounting. And then once that's paid, now we get consent letters signed. Now we start using Asset Map, and now we start the automation process of data gathering, booking the first appointment, and actually getting into the financial planning.
Any particular system you're using to issue the invoices and to manage the invoices?
So we use Xero for that. We found that quite easy to use, and the reminders and the reporting that comes out of Xero has been our preference for that. And from a CRM point of view, it's called Less Annoying CRM. It's not actually for financial advisors. It's a generic one, but it is spectacular for our needs. And we use Asset Map for a lot of our analysis. And then we have a few other tools here and there.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thanks for that, Terence. I want to get a little bit quickly into the marketing you do for your business, because like you are all over the place, and in a good way, not like somebody who doesn't know, like a headless chicken. You are just, your work rate, I must say, I sit there sometimes and like, Terence, one, where do you get the energy? To just how efficient are you to get all this stuff done? But just very quickly, take me through the marketing you do for Rich Ideas, because you're on various platforms, you've been on TV, radio, you've got your own podcast. Just a quick sense of what you use and what does it mean for your business.
So I got my inspiration to do all of that, and I'm still inspired by him today. He does all of that, and that's Cobus Klein, who's been on your show a few times, and we all know the legend that is Cobus Klein, and that's my inspiration. And what I learned a number of years ago was be yourself, be authentic, and the messages I put out, the podcasts I put out, the conversations I have are exactly the same as the conversations I'll have with clients. And what confirmed that for me was it's my third or fourth podcast I put out, and a chap booked an appointment. And in that Calendly, because I use that, it's name, surname, etc. And I go, what made you reach out to book the session? And he says, I listened to your podcast where you said something was a cuck investment, and I knew you were the guy I wanted to work with. Ladies and gents, speak to people like people. Don't speak to people with legal, technical jargon. They're not interested in that. So always be authentic, because you'll attract the same type of people back to you and your message. And then it's about being consistent. If you're going to use a platform, and for me, and I'm no social media guru, but I enjoy it, and I latched onto Twitter in my early time of marketing. And when I started with Twitter probably 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, for financial planning, not just to follow random feeds, I had about 300 followers. As of yesterday, that's about 10,700 followers. And I realized then I need to leverage that in various multimedia streams. So using audio, visual, and written. And then, as Francois said, try and be everywhere for the right reasons, so that it's a confirmation, it's an edification of the work that you do, and people will see and notice you. The spin-off to that is I've now gotten so busy that I have to close my diary from time to time, and prospective clients get a bit annoyed that they have to wait months before they can have an appointment. And I often feel quite guilty for that, but I need to do the excellent work I do with the people that are with me right now. So having that waiting list is very humbling, but it also shows that for me, I'm doing good stuff and people want to work with me.
No, I love that. And I just want to congratulate you on what you're doing. I think you're doing all the right things. And I think the thing that's definitely, well, not thinking, I know, the thing that is really pulling all of this together is your consistency, apart from the quality work that you do and all of that. So, and you are very, like, there's nobody you don't engage with on Twitter, for example. Like, I hate Twitter, like, with a passion. Like, I just go there and even the Propulsion Live Twitter thing, like, I used to post every week, but I stopped. It's just like, I don't know, I'm more of a LinkedIn person, but you manage in all that noise on Twitter to find your audience, to find people that want to engage with you, and that you have great conversations on there. And I think a lot of that has also led to the TV and the radio and all the other stuff that happens, because people see you and they like what you say and how you say it. But it didn't happen overnight, as you said, you know. So yeah, absolutely. Terence, I hope you're going to stick around, because we're going to do the draw now for people to see who's going to win that ticket. But thank you so much. I think it was an amazing interview. Sure, no, we can do an hour of this easily, if not an hour and a half. So just thank you very much, and well done on the great work that you do. It's really inspiring. I think, you're inspired by people, but you inspire a lot of people. I don't think you realize that. So well done for that. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Francois. And if anyone has questions or wants to chat, they must please reach out to me. I'm on all the social medias. So as you said, and let's talk.
And ladies and gentlemen, yeah, with that, next week my guest will be Johan Bester from Advice Tech. So they sort of a new kid on the block, been around for the last 18 months or so, and doing some great work. So I'm going to talk to him and sort of showcase a little bit about their system. So that's going to be next week, same time, same place. So thank you for joining me. And where am I? Yeah, I got to say, where am I? Like, guys, I'm in Somerset West at the moment. So yeah, that's Gordon's Bay in the back. And what a view from here. But anyway, thank you very much. We'll be back same time, same place. Stay safe, be blessed, and remember to raise the bar. And love you lots. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Remember to check out the live show, Propulsion Live, on YouTube every Friday at 7 a.m. South African time. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. That's propulsion.co.za/live. And please remember to subscribe, share with your colleagues, your friends, and anyone who may find value like you did in this podcast. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.